I think surge in dollar-denominated stablecoins and the recent passage of the Genius Act in the United States make fintech companies in Korea and some advocates in stablecoins ask government to allow the issuance of the one-denominated stablecoin by non-banks, and it become an issue. As you know that we have been doing a pilot about tokenized deposit with a commercial bank in our closed blockchains, but I think the demand, the fintech companies demanding that is not good for the innovation, and so they ask for the allowance of non-bank institutions to participate in it. And we definitely, given this new demand, we definitely need to recalibrate our plan. But from a central bank perspective, one of the concerns that we have is implication for our capital flow management. If we allow unregulated one-denominated stable coins, I believe that it will expedite the easier transfer to dollar-denominated stable coins and undermine some of our capital flow management. So where some critics say that we can avoid this problem because new technology is good for the KYC, identification and identify some irregular transactions. But we have to see whether the technology is perfect to move on. So I think this issue will be a hard issue, and this is well beyond the BOK's mandate. So I need to discuss this issue with the new government, and then we have to probably check whether what kind of regulatory framework we have to introduce.
I think one main concern about general introduction of stable coins as such is that the monetary transmission mechanism will be challenged, to say the least. So is that one concern for you as well?
Yes, definitely. I didn't mention it, but that's the biggest concern from a central bank point of view. So for example, depending on the ways how we allow the regulations, sometimes it's very hard to kind of control the money supply if you allow the private money coming in.
Yes,
but
course.
My point is that this is, in case of Korea, unlike many European countries in America, we have a capital flow management. So on top of this monetary policy concerns, we have a capital flow management issue, we have a narrow banking issue. So this issue is well beyond just the central banking mandates.
And what makes you or market participants ask for a one-denominated stable coin? Because here in Europe we have the discussion that we don't want more dependency on the US dollar. Is that the same for you?
No, actually, that's my view. But on the other hand, the advocates of the stable coin say that if we don't issue one-denominated stable coins, Korean market will be much influenced by the dollar-denominated stablecoin, and we lose monetary sovereignty. So they actually think that the one-denominated stablecoin can be a substitute for the dollar-denominated stablecoin. But on the other hand, to speak frankly, I think the other way around. The existence of the one-denominated stablecoin, by making it easier to transform into the dollar-denominated stablecoin, it may increase the dollar-denominated stablecoin. So these are the issues that we have to delve into more.
But the news on your country moving so fast on the stablecoin issue has pushed markets to crazy heights. So are you concerned about a bubble in that space?
It's very hard to check how much is the bubble or how much not. So in general, I'm concerned. But on the other hand, our stock price has been down very much in the last 6 months due to our own political, saga, and at the same time, this stablecoin issue is related with AI and new technology issues. So it's all combined. So it's very hard to distinguish which portion comes from where. So we'll see.
South Korea is a very open economy, and you must have had problems also with the appreciation of the dollar next to the Liberation Day. How is that hitting your economy? And what does it do to your policy setting?
If you just mentioned the exchange rate impact, Korea is in some sense on a unique situation because, as I mentioned, we had unnecessary martial law declaration in December last year. After that, Korean won depreciate quite significantly due to own domestic political issue. So in some sense, in the recent 2 months appreciation, I believe it's a lion's share of it is a normalization of to the level compatible with our fundamentals. So for the exchange rate movement, we have to see how this will move forward. And as for the general impact of tariff, we are, you know that the closing date of the July 9th is coming very soon, and we don't know what comes next, but we have to be prepared.
Yes, of course, and the government seems to prepare a very big fiscal package to counter the potential effects from the tariffs. But at the same time, Korea already, or South Korea, I should say, has a very high debt burden. So are you concerned about debt viability?
No, actually, as of now, our debt over GDP ratio is below 50%, is 49 something. So in some sense, as of now, we don't have any fiscal problem at this moment. But we may, because of the slow growth and the aging problem, we will down the road. But at this moment, given that our growth rate this year is 0.8% in 2025, which is well below our potential growth rate 2%, definitely we need some temporary boost from fiscal side. And government recently announced the supplementary budget packages, and that will probably has an impact on our growth about 0.2% of a year. And so let's see how this new fiscal packages will help to restore our growth.
I read, though, that the Bank of International Settlement said that your households, I should be more precise, have the second highest debt in the world.
Yeah, household debt. Yeah.
But if you set monetary policy, do you have to take that into account?
Yes, actually, if you mentioned the household debt, that's true.
Yeah.
Our household debt over GDP ratio is close to 90%, and that is one of the highest in the world. And this is actually the biggest concern for the monetary policy. And we have been in an easing cycle given the slow growth, lower than our potential GDP growth rate. We have cut our policy rate by 100 basis point from since last October. And we are still in the easing cycle. But recently, financial stability risk is growing very fast because, as you mentioned, housing prices in metropolitan area is growing fast, and also we have a very high household debt over GDP ratio. So I think we are keeping eye on this financial stability risk when we decide the pace and the timing of the next cuts.
But there will be more cuts to come given the situation?
Given the slow growth rate, we are expecting it. But the exact timing and magnitude, we will decide by the data, depending on the data we are seeing each month.
Let me ask you again on your economy and also the implications from the trade or tariff situation. Can you divert some of the produce of your country to other countries, which normally would go to the US?
Yes, indeed. Actually, long before this US new tariffs introduced, we started to diversify our supply chains. Because we have a large dependence in China for the last 10 years, but we had some political issues with China, and then also Chinese industry become quite competitive. So many of our companies who migrate to China for supply chain decide to move out of China because of competitive issue and also for international political issues. So we start to diversify our source of our supply chain long before this tariff issue became important. So in some sense, I think it's good for us to diversify our supply chains, irrespective of these tariff issues. But definitely, the U.S. tariff, we are affected not by direct impact of the U.S. tariff on us, but also tariff on China, Mexico, Canada. So in the world, looks like there is no place to hide easily. So that definitely the U.S. tariff will have a negative impact on us.
But still, the June export numbers were up again, so tech is booming again. Is that because there is this huge revival or belief in Gen AI and AI as such?
Yes, I think semiconductor export is doing fine, and that's one of the strengths of our economy. Irrespective of tariff, I think our competitiveness in semiconductor industry is doing well. But on the other hand, if you look at some other sectors such as cars, aluminum, and tariff, which has a sectoral tariff from the United States, you haven't seen very much change until April because there's a front loading of our export. But we have to wait and see how this trend will continue. So as of now, we don't see much change But actually, we have to watch out what's going to happen if, especially after July 9th, if the tariff is increased again. I hope not, but if that's the case.